Hey everybody, it's Safi and Marco Dish Out on Movies, the only movie review show on YouTube to review movies in terms of food. And it's just Marco here to review another terrible episode of Dead Ringers. This is episode 2, and it feels, to be fair, it feels a lot more like a TV show episode than the first one. However, it's terrible. It's still completely uh this one in particular, it feels completely like a filler episode. It feels like something that could have been easily like a 10-minute sequence in the movie. It could have easily been like a maybe like a 15-minute sequence at most, and I just felt like the episode was completely pointless. Like, it's just an hour of nonstop, repetitive, weird humor, like meta humor. You can tell that although it is like a feminazi show, it feels a lot like there's a lot of like this weird meta humor where they're poking fun at everyone, I guess. And I don't know. It's like I don't see what it is that they thought that was a good idea that needed a show. Like, I don't see what they saw in this concept, this pitch, and having this shitty story of these sisters, and it's kind of similar to the movie but not. Like, it's just, I don't see the point in this. They already established that their highest, or I guess their top possible donor for their birthing center, she's a terrible person. She has this whole family of rich evil people, and this whole episode is the twins going to their house, spending the night there, and having a party and dinner and playing a game. And then at the end, they either accept the money or they don't. And it just felt like the whole episode, you knew exactly everything that was going to happen. You knew that you'd have all this terrible dialogue where the woman's like, "No, we're not going to give you money. Your pitches are boring. You're terrible. You're just trash." And then later on, they're like, "Of course we'll give you money." And it's like, just this like double talking, this back and forth weirdness. And then there's this whole dinner sequence where you meet all these different characters who I really hope that none of them come back into the show, because they're all just a bunch of stereotypes, and they're really, really like cartoony and kiddish stereotypes. Like, I feel like the closest thing to this would be the Flintstones movie. Like, this is like if David Cronenberg, well, not even David Cronenberg, this is like somebody who's a big fan of David Cronenberg making a Flintstones movie. That's how cartoony these people are. And at the same time, there's this random Asian woman, and she's stealing a tampon and a bloody tissue from the twins, I think. And she takes them for herself at the end, and I guess she's going to try to grow a child, a fetus, whatever. You guys see, like, how, I mean, maybe reviewing the show isn't even worth it, because, like, there's not even much to talk about in this terrible episode. Like, it was so straightforward. Like, they go to this dinner, they stay overnight, and they play this weird game where one of them is kidnapped in a fake way, and then she has to escape. Like, okay. Why? You see what I mean? Like, why? The whole episode, the only thing I kept on asking was, why? Why? I mean, it's bad enough that in the first episode, we had all these random weird scenes of, like, eating a falafel and then just saying F you, F you, F you, F you. But now we gotta have this thing where we spend a whole hour with these cartoon characters with this predictable dialogue and these two main twins, and again, like, I can clearly tell it's the same person. Like, I can't really tell much. Like, I know that they're trying to show that they're different, but I really can't tell a difference in character. It almost just feels like a person and her imaginary friend. And then they play this game, and at the same time, like, one of the twins, she starts having sex with one of the people who works with the donor. That was really, really weird. It was another terrible, awful 2023 fake sex scene too. It looked terrible. They did this trick where, you know, Rachel Weisz had all her clothes on, and then the guy had like no shirt on or something. It looks terrible. These sex scenes just are the worst. They're just so like fake looking and awful and bland and boring, and there's nothing to them. It's like they don't even arouse any sort of, like, I don't know, like stimulate, I mean, any sort of emotion that you think you'd feel when you saw a sex scene on screen. You know, like, there's no sort of, I don't know, it's like when you have a piece of salmon and then you don't even put any seasoning on it. You just eat the piece of salmon and then you eat a really small piece too. It's like, honestly, if I had to choose between eating a huge piece of overcooked salmon that had all the seasoning, soy sauce, all that shit, if I had to choose between eating that and then eating a tiny fillet with no seasoning at all, but it was perfectly cooked, I would choose the overcooked giant fillet of salmon. Because at least that overcooked giant fillet has seasoning and it tastes like something. At least it tastes really good. At least it feels like, wow, I'm having this nice big piece of salmon. Even though it's overcooked, it's better than a little piece of bland trash. And all the different cartoon characters, they all kind of feel like just almost like, I don't know, like they're trying to make this like I don't know, it's like they think because they're making this Cronenberg movie adaptation that they have to inject all this weirdness and all of this like fake social commentary and fake humor, and it just doesn't work. Like in the original movie, everything was taken seriously. You know, like the original movie is just so much better than this. It almost feels like they're trying to do like a David Lynch type of thing. Like they're trying to be weird. They're trying to do these weird things. Like, oh, we're eating horse meat for dinner, and it was my racing horse. And then they have this dessert scene. They're talking more about exactly what they're going to do at this birthing center. And there's this one weird old woman. And she was probably the best one there, because she was like, why don't you like money? Do you have a problem with money? Why don't you like it? Why don't you like money? why do you have such a problem with money? And she was acting like one of the twins had this like psychological problem because she didn't want to do all this corrupt stuff, like devote the birthing center to selling some sort of a pain relieving drug or something. Like she was really like, what, why? Like she was really concerned. And I thought it was pretty hilarious, at least that part. And then basically we all know what's going to happen. By taking this money, they are going to be forced to do all this corrupt shit. It's going to make one of them really happy, and she's also going to do worse things. And then it's going to make the other one really upset, and she's going to start doing drugs because she doesn't like that she's doing these terrible things. And so that is the whole story, I guess. That's what it's going to be. I'm really not excited about watching it, honestly. I think that just in general, I really wish that this was better. Like, I thought that if you could remake any of David Cronenberg's movies, you definitely want to remake Dead Ringers the most. Just to switch it around from being about a drug addiction story, because that was really not what was interesting about that movie at all. I mean, the first half of that movie, really, really good. And then you have the second half where it just becomes all about the drug addiction. And that's the worst part. And that's this whole show. This whole show is just about a future drug addiction that's going to be coming up. And then they, as I said, they played this weird game too. And honestly, it kind of reminded me, this whole sequence, it kind of reminded me of Parasite a little bit. The way that they're doing all this rich, poor social commentary, satire. Like, they had this one part where this woman says, like, why should we be giving people access? Like, why does access matter to the facility? And it's like, this is stupid. This is not Dope Sick, the show from Hulu, where it was just like this, anti-opioid show. This is supposed to be Dead Ringers, and I have no idea what they were thinking making this crap. And then at the end, one of the twins who gets kidnapped in a fake game, she just straight up says F you, F you, and she unleashes her true feelings towards everyone. And then the main woman, she's still gonna give her money, possibly. They just have to decide, and then they decide to do it. And it's like, wow. That was really life-changing, wasn't it? And then they had another weird fake, I guess it's fake, they had another random therapy scene at the end where the twin is talking about how she's in a relationship and she's glad that her mean twin is gone so that she won't be talking about the relationship and ruining it and disparaging her and her girlfriend. The thing is, though, is that, once again, these people have no chemistry. Oh yeah, I didn't even mention at the beginning of the episode, they had this cringeworthy scene where you could hear the twin having sex with the actress, and the other twin was eating, like, food, breakfast food, I couldn't even tell, and she started, like, moaning along as if she were engaging in a threesome with them, and I was like, God, what is this show? Just, what is this show? So I guess these therapy sequences are a fantasy. Like that's all I can even tell. Like I have no idea. They're just shoved in there at the end and they don't even tell you or anything. It's just like, okay. And then they show the random Asian woman that they showed throughout the whole episode randomly, and she goes to her house and plays around with the tampon and the tissue and puts them in a jar, and then she listens to this recording of, I guess it's her mom or something, calling her on the phone. I don't know. So overall, I give this episode a D. I think that it's an improvement. Actually, I'm giving it a D. Actually, okay, I'm going to give it a D minus. It's an improvement on the first episode. However, it's just not good. It's like, it's not what it wants to be. It's not what it should be, and therefore it's not good. The best part of this episode was nothing. The best part of this episode was just getting it done. Like, seriously. And so I'm gonna continue watching the show, although you guys can tell that I'm sick and it's a struggle to even do this review. But anyway, please like this video, comment, tell me what you think about this shitty show, and then please subscribe to our channel if you'd like to see me finish this awful series. Oh yeah, I forgot. They had this cringeworthy scene at the beginning where the FDA was raiding the hospital with the two twins because they found a 14-day-old fetus in the trash. And there's this cringe lines where they say, "Why do they have guns?" And then the guy says, "It's the FDA, and it's fucking America. Of course they have guns." And it's like, oh, God. Like, it's so strange. It's like, these people, too, like, if you think about this as an agenda line, these people want the authorities to have guns as much as they want. They want all these types of authority figures, all these different people, like the FDA, they want them to have guns. They just don't want, normal citizens to have any guns, because they don't want them to be able to protect themselves and such and such. And so why would they be making this comment as if, like, they're upset that the FDA, they carry weapons when they're doing this random raid? Like, it was just all out of nowhere. It was all random and casual. Like, oh yeah, I guess the FDA raids people all the time. Like, they didn't raid the fucking CVS that I went to after I got food poisoning from their fucking Lucky Charms. They didn't raid them, so I don't know. So anyways, I don't like the show at all. You guys can tell. So goodbye, everybody. See you soon.